I'm starting to feel a little bit of tiredness coming on. I gotta eat some of this yummy, greasy stuff before it gets too late for my heartburn. Sony versus Microsoft. My thoughts. Well, spoilers, I'm playing on a PS4 and not an Xbox One. I've always gone where the games are, and that's almost always served me well. I had an NES, Super NES, and then Square Enix was taking their games to, I think it was still just Square then, was taking their games to this new PlayStation console. Final Fantasy wasn't going to be on the new Nintendo 64 console. So, that made it easy. I bought a PlayStation so that I could play Final Fantasy and the other RPGs, presumably, that were going to be coming to the PlayStation. The same reason I graduated to a PlayStation 2. When it came time to move to the next console generation, PS3 was hugely expensive, and also, in addition to the cost, the games seemed to not be coming out. Like BioWare, by that time I was a new fan of BioWare. BioWare had created Neverwinter Nights on the PC, and I just thought this was the bee's knees. This is the most amazing game I've ever played. It's still possibly my favorite video game of all time. Mass Effect was coming to Microsoft. It was coming to Xbox 360. And there was no sign of it coming to PS3. But then you had Lost Odyssey, which was made by some of the same people involved in Final Fantasy and Shadow Hearts. I'm not sure if I knew at the time that some Shadow Hearts people were involved. But I was just seeing these JRPGs coming out and being announced for the Xbox 360, and I was seeing a bunch of shooters and sports games on PS3. It seemed like this complete reversal of what had been my impressions of the original Xbox and PS2. The original Xbox seemed to be catering more toward what I would call the jock gamer, who basically plays Call of Duty and one sports game per year. I mean, it was really shocking to see that change. So that's I went with the Xbox 360. And that was the one time where following the games steered me wrong, because after about a year or so, the games that I was really, there was Lost Odyssey and Mass Effect. And those are the only two games that were exclusive to PS3, or to 360. Anyway, but apart from those two games, all the other RPGs and the other games that I enjoyed on 360, I think, especially as I look at my collection on the shelf now, I think they are all available on PS3. And not only that, but the 360 is, in my opinion, crap hardware. I think in one sense, it's brilliant hardware, But I'm comparing it to the longevity that I got out of my NES, my Super NES, my PlayStation, and my PS2. I am still... The games I've been playing tonight on my PS2, that is nearly a launch PS2. It has the same body as a launch PS2. I think it maybe was the first variation on PS2s where they just changed a couple things internally. But the body is the same. It's not a Slim. Even though it's needed me to open it up and tweak some things with the lasers now and then, it has still served me well and continues to serve me well. So compared to that, the Xbox 360, in my experience, was absolutely crap hardware. The problems I had, I never had the red ring of death. I had, as I mentioned earlier in the stream today, the open tray error, and it's called the open tray error. It's like the second or third most common one, but nobody talks about it because by far more people are experiencing the red ring, and that's the one that gets all the coverage. It's called that because even when there's a disc in the tray, it says open tray as if there's no disc there. So it's not reading a disc. When it first happened to me, it was not long past warranty. It was maybe a year or less past its warranty. So I sent it in, I paid the $50 to get it fixed. And then the warranty on those repairs was a year. And what they did was they sent me a refurbished Xbox 360 to expedite, the return, the repair, or whatever. So technically I didn't get my 360 back, I got another one that was refurbished. Less than a month after the warranty on those repairs expired. Open tray error. And I called them back. They were not going to give me a free repair on that. And I said, really, there's nothing that you can do for me. It's just 3 weeks past, and this is my history with this, you know. It doesn't make me feel good about Xbox consoles. And what he offered to do was for me to pay $100 to upgrade to the new Xbox 360 model. And I'm like, that is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. $100 to upgrade. Maybe if it was 25 or 50 at most. The track record I was showing is that, like, these things die shortly after their warranty runs out. So why would I want to pay any more money? What I want you to do is extend the life of the product that I already purchased by replacing it. That would have been, if they wanted to keep me as a customer in the future, that would have been the thing to do. But they weren't going to do that. You know, I didn't get heated with the guy on the phone. You know, I said, okay, well, hey, listen, you've been helping me very well today, and I know that, you know, this is all just policy stuff you don't have any control over, but if you could do me a favor, please, just pass the message up above you, just as far as it'll go. Just see it passed up as far as it'll go for whoever's crunching the numbers and taking note of stats like these. That I will never buy a new Xbox console again. I have no faith in Microsoft's ability to make consoles that are reliable. And so I was pretty bitter about the situation when, it was probably about 2 years later, I find myself buying an Xbox 360 console. This was last spring. For a while, my friend Mark Pennington, who donated and selected Final Fantasy for me to play this morning, he had upgraded to a newer model 360, and he had a 360 that was just collecting dust, and so he let me borrow his just long term. It was wow, it was extremely generous of him. But I did want to get the console back to him. I didn't feel right about keeping it for so long, and so I tinkered with my old 360 and found some YouTube things online and breathed some life back into it. I thought like I did my PS2, but it was not to be as long-lived. It bought me a few more months, but by that time I'd already given the 360 back to Mark, and you know, that wasn't something that I really regretted. But yeah, it was last year actually for Extra Life. I was using my 360, which I had just kind of tinkered with and got working again, and it worked for all of Extra Life. It was wonderful. I was so glad it did. And then not long after Christmas, it decided it was all done. I bought a new 360, you know, because I was like, I just knew that there were a number of 360 games that I would want to play again, and a number of 360 games I hadn't gotten to yet. You know, especially after Extra Life last year, I discovered that there was a whole slew of action games that I could now consider that I thought just I would never be able to be good enough to play, but with difficulty settings, you know, casual modes, you know, being added, I just discovered a whole world of games types that were opened up to me. So I knew that I had good reason to have a 360 console, and I told myself if I ever bought a 360 again, it would be a used one. It would be a used one, because I did not want to give Microsoft any of my money. But in the end, I thought, yeah, you could be a man of your word or your principle, or really, but that's just your pride, Peter. At the end of the day, that's just your pride. Microsoft has reportedly worked the kinks out of their consoles. No red rings going on.
Which way?
And I would think that they would really be wanting to build goodwill with their customers by getting that crap sorted out before they start marketing their new console. So, and I thought I'll ultimately get more life out of a 360 if I buy a new 360, you know. But it did make me that much more bitter. It's like, oh, here I am forking out this money, giving it to Microsoft. So, and all that speaks to is Microsoft's ability to do good business, to get the games that I would want, and maybe others like me would want, at the beginning of the 360 life cycle, to make deals. The excellent time I had on the 360 is not a result, I don't think, of the console itself. So you add up all that experience, that past experience that I had with the 360, and then you have the launch of the Xbox One compared to the PS4, and what a disastrous launch that was. They were all about TV and multimedia and not about games. To begin with, they were going to have to just have some awesome exclusives and just know exactly what I want and speak directly to me. They're not marketing to Peter Franson, you know, obviously. But I mean, I laughed at the imaginary scenario of these executives saying this just specifically to me. You know, like, are you guys kidding me? After what I went through with your last console? Now this is what you're pitching me? In general, the JRPGs and just the kinds of games that I want to play, the independent games also, they're coming to PS4. I don't think anyone is stupid or foolish or whatever for getting an Xbox One, but hopefully it makes sense why I would feel so strongly about not buying an Xbox One, given my experience and my preferences as a gamer. Oh, jeez, come on. I'm driving like the senior citizen version of Mad Max. Man, I'm trying to remember, was I this tired last year at this time? Jeez, I'm zoning out. Too early for this, Franson, come on!
ChristianGeekCentral.com